Hey guys, Gameboy3800 here once again, and I'm giving you another laptop review. Now this is going to be a little bit different because this is a review that I've been wanting to make for a while. Because this is going to be a review of a computer that is terrible. I think it was always terrible. I've used it for years, no joke. And it's awful. Like, do not get this. Don't even get anything like it. It was bad even when it came out. It was bad before it came out. And what is this? Well, this is... what model are you? This is the Gateway MA7. Or it's probably something else. What is it? Well, obviously a laptop. But it's a very cheap laptop. It doesn't perform well. And it is pretty much as broken as you can make a laptop be and have it still work. I'm not entirely sure how that's possible, but somehow through years of use at my old school and the abuse I've putting it through, it's still somehow somewhat alive. And I guess I have another laptop like this. I have a Dell Vostro that I've had since 8th grade that still powers up and does stuff sometimes. But this is on a whole different scale. As always with my laptop reviews, I go over the exterior first, and this time, oh boy, cheap, very thin, flimsy plastic. I am not sure how this is still in one piece. The top logo has the G in Gateway broken away, so we called it the 8-way. And as you've noticed by now, it's also missing all the rubber feet. So we also called it the slip-away. As a matter of fact, the school had like at least 10 or 15 of these, and they all were sliding away. So they were all slip-aways, and this one was the 8-way. 8-way and slip-away. So I'm not sure if it's because it had some years of use put into it by elementary school or middle schoolers, or if it was just intentionally designed to have the cheapest rubber pads you could possibly find, throw them on there, and hope they last a week. I think it was the latter. You can also notice that it's missing the DVD drive cover. It still works miraculously, but it's missing. Coming up next are the ports. On the left side are the aforementioned DVD drive, some venting, and S-video output. On the back is a small vent and old VGA. There's no kind of HDMI or anything like that on this, even though HDMI was already out at the time. You have 2 USB 2s, phone line, LAN, 2 more USB 2s, SD card reader that sometimes works, 1394 FireWire, and I think PCM CIA card slot. And then at the front you have headphone, microphone, and some god-awful speakers. They are terrible. What happens with the speakers is that oftentimes they buzz when there's a high-pitched sound. So someone who has a higher voice, like Linus from Linus Tech Tips, being a tech guy, I watch this channel a lot. He sounds awful. It's always echoey. It's always like high-pitched and like rattly almost. If I can get away with some footage, I'll do it. Next up, opening it up. The keyboard is awful. There's already some keys missing. It has a lot of flex, and the keys are not comfortable to type on. And then the keys that are still there, sometimes half the time don't work. You need to press them extra hard to get them to do anything. And then the mouse button. The left mouse button is the worst I've ever experienced. Not only does it not work from here to like here, it'll only work at the very beginning here, but I've had to swap the mouse buttons because of that. Like, this is left click, this is right click. I've only had to do that on my M14X because the left mouse button got busted somehow. And I guess this one did too. So, the scroll wheel isn't too bad. It's impossible to scroll from left to right. And all the notifications for like Wi-Fi, caps lock, scroll lock, all that stuff is down here by the mouse pad. You're not going to see that. You're used to it being up here. Why did they put it down here? That is the worst thing I've ever seen. And then the screen is awful. Unless you're looking at it straight on, it loses color really fast, as you can see right there. Going from it from above isn't too bad, but going from it from below, it immediately loses color and goes negative. Viewing from side to side is not terrible, but it is glossy. And while that usually does help bring out the color, here it just makes it reflect everything from 62 miles away. Why did they make this design choice? And then the worst part is trying to find drivers for this to reinstall the Windows onto the hard drive. Because, like, it's no longer a supported model. It was impossible to find any drivers for a month, and I finally found some on an old forum that was going over the same issue. And then, yeah, it's not good. Battery life, I will give this laptop credit. The battery life is not terrible. 3 hours left in high performance. But I suspect that is because the highest end processor you can give this is like 2.2 gigahertz, and for some reason when I was searching up the processor, the 2.2 gigahertz one was $40 when the 2.16 gigahertz was $10. I don't know why people put such a price premium on old junk, but whatever. I upgraded this laptop as much as I could for $30. I got the processor for, I said, $10. And the 4 gigabytes of memory, of which it only recognizes 3, even though it's in a 64-bit. Actually, no, it's not 64-bit, but still, it should recognize 4 gigs of RAM. It's only recognizing 3. So, a slow processor, even for the time, like they had the 3 gigahertz Core 2s out at that time, and even the 2.6 gigahertz or 2.8 gigahertz mobile chips, so there's no excuse to not support anything higher than 2.2, or in this case, 2.16 without paying a heavy premium for no reason. And I'm not seeing any microphone on this by default. So Skype calls on this, I guess, are impossible. Also, it has no webcam. And another major flaw of this is that it's got no real dedicated card for graphics. It's got a basic Intel one, which is, I guess, good for the price. It keeps it cheap. But, you know, using it beyond, like, the recommended lifetime, like 2 to 3 years, is just god-awful. The Clevo laptop I reviewed before, even though it had a Core 2 inside of it still, it had a dedicated NVIDIA card, so it was still able to view stuff just fine. This, even YouTube videos, it cannot handle anything above 480p, even though it is a dual core. But going into any kind of HD, it immediately stutters. And even in 480p and lower, if you pause the video and then try to play it, the audio will go ahead, and then the video will stay stopped, and then the audio will pause, and the video will move to catch up to the audio, or sometimes it's the other way around. It is just an unpleasant computer to use. And I have been using it for months because I have sold my Alienware 14 in order to get the 980 Ti Hall of Fame LN2 edition back in August. So where does that put this computer? Well, this computer is awful. I would never recommend it to anybody unless you're trying to torture somebody because of how slow it is. And also, it is slow because it does not have a wireless N, Wi-Fi card. So you can only do wireless G, which is limited to 54 megabits, while wireless N is limited to 300. It would have been a much better choice to use wireless N. It was out at the time too, so there is no excuse. Editing on it, like video editing, even with the basic Windows Movie Maker, was impossible. because you pause it, and then try to get to a place and then hit play. It takes like 30 seconds for it to actually play. It is terrible. And then the other issue is it runs hot. I have no idea why. I put in some Icy Diamond 7, and while that did help tremendously, it still runs extremely hot. But without the Icy Diamond 7, it ran even hotter, and the fan was always on. Now the fan is off, even with it plugged in, getting more power. It doesn't run too loud. That's the only positive thing I can say about this. So, yeah, and because it slips away, as you're seeing right here, you try to type, and it's moving away from you. It's awful. I would recommend the Dell 9100 over this, and that had a Pentium 4 and an old ATI Radeon. But because it had the Radeon, it was able to keep up, and the speakers were good, the keyboard was alright, and the mouse buttons were tolerable. Also, another thing about the mouse buttons here is that for some inexplicable reason, they have the mouse buttons with a curve. You can't really see that. There you go. You can see it now. They have the mouse buttons with a curve, so that you have to hit it from either here or like here. It is incredibly inefficient. It just puts your hand in a weird way, and it gets uncomfortable after a very short time. I am unsure why my school ever even bought these, but they lasted some time before they quickly replaced them with Toshiba's, which were almost just as bad, but you know, the mouse buttons were tolerable, and they had a microphone, I think. Other than that, I would never recommend this laptop unless you want to torture somebody. And yeah, like the 9100 was really good for the time, just that nowadays it's bad. This was bad even when it came out. So, if what you're looking for is a junky old laptop to not work at all, I could not have recommended this one enough. And the model is ML6703, or MA7. That makes no sense. Look. So it's right there, model that, but then right above it, model MA7. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they put two different model names for the same unit? So yeah, if you're looking to get an old cheap computer, this is not it. So the 8-way, throw it away. But wait, there's more. I have forgotten to do the traditional thing of show you the dancing cat. If you have epilepsy, you are not watching this video anyways, because it's a video on YouTube. So yep, I could not end a video without showing you that. And yeah, horrible laptop, don't get it. Oh my god. I am a god.